Everyone is welcome here, it's time to make new friends. Aquavide Uskava, fill your Glencairn. Share a dram with the spirit of Edmonton. Plancha!
Plancha. And good evening, whiskey brothers, whiskey sisters, and whiskey friends. And welcome to episode 68 of the Canadian Whisky Journey's Whiskey Review. I'm Dolph. I'm the creator of the Canadian Whisky Journey. I'm the president of the Alberta Scotch Society, and I'm your host tonight. And we're continuing our Canadian Whisky Journey back in my whiskey room. And it's first time of the year, and as you know, for me, I'm a teacher, so my year starts essentially in September. That's how I think of things in chunks. Whereas I know most of you think of your year as starting in January, but I wanted to start my new year off with this whiskey right here. So it's the J.P. Wiser's Collector Series Black Walnut, 13-year-old. Now, this is part of the Collector Series. First came this one right here, the Hickory expression, and next will be the Japanese oak expression. Now all three are made in essentially the same way. So first, each of the components are aged in Canadian whiskey casks for 10 years, and those components being corn and rye, and in white oak. Then the supplier pops off the top of the used Canadian whiskey cask and lined it with, in this case, black walnut. Previously it was with hickory, then black walnut, and then next will be the Japanese oak. And I believe, further information, that there's only 12 barrels of each of these that have been done. So initially 10 years and then 3 years in these individual oaks. So the walnut for an additional 3 years, giving us 13 years of lovely whiskey. Now, I bought this about a month ago, and I've been waiting for the Japanese oak ever since. We'll get that soon enough. But let's focus on this one here again, the black walnut expression. All good. So first of all, it's 750 mils. It's 40% and hovers around the $50, $60 range. And let's get into it. Let's do the nose. And I should say first, when I opened this and it was raw, like right out of the bottle, it was caramel right away. I got the floral rye, spice, and the wood. And the wood was harder to decipher because of its uniqueness. So what I did is I waited. I gave it 20, 30, probably 40 minutes. And then, whoa, it changed on me. So it was harder to decipher, but then with the time, and I could have just put a little bit of water in it, but I like keeping it the way it was for my tasting with you. And the nose, still caramel, but the caramel gives way a little bit to maybe confectioner's sugar, and what I think is a hint of green apple. Now, my tasting notes might have made me think of green apple because of this, and we'll get to that in a second. But the floral rye dissipates, and I do love it. It's great. It's fantastic. But yeah, that caramel and the confectioner's sugar, and they're blending really well. And Adam, amazing Dolph whiskey. You're a lovely man. Thank you, bud. Palate. So no, let's go to the palate. And I get vanilla, but then again, I get just vanilla just about every time I do a Canadian whiskey. So there's nothing surprising in vanilla. But then I'm going to do this again. See if I get it just like I did previously. Yeah, so really distinctive it was. So really it hits just one memory for me more than anything else. It is, and people in Western Canada probably have an idea, people in Vancouver, Victoria, you go to any tourist town, and for me it's Banff and Jasper, but it's the caramel apples that have nuts around them. So not peanuts, but some other type of nut. So in my mind, it was walnuts. In my mind, is what it tasted like. And it also gives me kind of the background, the not heat, but the dryness at the back of the throat. And well, since I already have these, I'm going to put some of these pictures on. So again, there's Wiser's. There's the outside. Well, top view. There's the front. And that's the experience center. I want to go there. And if you haven't done so and gone to their Whiskey 101 class, still have to go, you should. And there's the stills. It looks pretty good. But here's the guy right there. There's the genius behind this one, Dr. Don Livermore. And we've seen him with the Alberta Scotch Society several times. He's a proponent. He gives us some really unique stuff. And I was really happy that this came out again, because we tasted this previously. And I was a proponent then. I'm a proponent again. So I'm going to stick with that. I get vanilla. It's got a nice mouthfeel, so a little bit oily or creamy. Here, give me a sec. I'm going to say more creamy-ish. It's kind of a heavier. It's still soft, moves back and forth. There's no heat with a 40%. But having said that, in the finish, there's a drying component I'm going to talk about in a second. And yeah, I can't get beyond the caramel-covered apple with walnuts. I just can't go beyond that. So it's sticking in my mind. Hopefully someone else out there gets kind of the same idea and can corroborate. Otherwise, you can tell me I'm full of whatever and say it in the comments. Happy to finish now. It's pretty long. And it's longer than I expected for a 13-year-old. But it's the uniqueness, I think, in the wood that's making me think it's really long. So, and it's longer than I think the hickory was, if I go back. Again, no burn at all. But the dryness at the end is reminiscent of what happens when you eat walnuts or pecans. So it's not hot. It's drying, like the skins of it dries a little bit. So we start it sweet, always sweet to start. It goes into a little bit of spice, but it's a floral spice. It's not a white pepper spice that you get in a lot of ryes, and I like that for the most part. But this one's not. This is more of a floral spice. And then it starts drying, and you get the nut-like flavor and feel. And the flavor I'm not nailing. I can't tell you if it's pecans or if it's walnuts. You're just going to have to buy it and figure it out yourself. But that drying feeling and the taste, they coincide, and it's not like one of those two in my mind. So this is a no-brainer, really. Some might have a hard time with this because it's different. It's unique. But that's what I appreciate in this. And that's what we look for, those of us that have been around Scotch and having lots of Scotch. You look for something unique. And this is it. So buy one. No, buy two. One to drink and share, and one to hold on to for a little while, because I don't think anything's going to be like this for a while. I like the hickory, but I like this better. So you'll enjoy it, I'm sure. So cheers to everybody. And if you're in Alberta, December 1-2, think about coming to the Banff Whiskey Experience. I'm sure Dr. Don would love to talk to you about this bottle and anything else he's done. So come, enjoy, have a fantastic day, sláinte, and I'll hopefully see you next Tuesday. Cheers, everybody.